can hear plenty good.
Hey, go ahead and give it the double clap.
Check.
Triple.
Hey, here we go with the double clap. Ready. If you wanna, you know what I'm saying? You know what song that is. If you wanna,
Is that rolling?
welcome
Still
back,
rolling?
everyone.
Good.
Do we need another double clap?
Okay. Okay. What's up, guys, and welcome to our interview with Abraham Stevens. Drum roll, please. Post-production. Okay. So this is my brother, if you can't tell already by the beard. I usually have a beard. This time I don't, but I'm slipping. So we're going to interview Abe. We were in a band together called Chasing the Light back in the day, and before Chasing the Light, we just jammed a lot. We kind of learned music together. So it's our interview with my brother, my baby brother.
Gang.
So, Abraham, tell us a little bit about yourself. You can start wherever you want, and then I'll ask you some heavy-hitting questions.
I don't know why it is, but the question that I hate getting the most is tell us. It's like an actual interview. Tell us a little about yourself. It's like, oh man, what do I say? You know. All right, so let's start here then. I play music.
That's good.
I started, I guess, my music journey when I was like 5 or so. Just.
That's true.
Beating on stuff.
You're probably one of the younger musicians out there.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it a musician. I was just like hitting on things, and
right.
my parents are like, "Oh, I think he's got rhythm," and so
maybe
they're giving me knitting needles, and
Seriously.
they had a bunch of oatmeal boxes.
And,
so I
and
like
tin
set them
popcorn
up.
cans.
Oh yeah,
those big tins that you'd get.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the symbols.
Those are symbols. Yeah. So I don't know how they were laid out, but
however you want.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I got to shut my phone off.
Listen, this is professional, Abe. You can't be having your phone on in these types of meetings.
So yeah, we started out with oatmeal boxes and knitting needles, and after a substantial number of knitting needles, it got broken. Well, eventually I was able to like play at the church and stuff, and
because you actually never had a drum set the whole time growing up, which is hilarious.
Which I don't blame my parents.
Right.
I mean, I would, jeez, man, unless I had a separate house on, like a separate room, like totally,
especially with
totally
6 kids
separate.
already in the house.
Yeah.
And then a drum set.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have been good.
No one's happy.
Yeah.
But anyway, started, playing after church, and I was there all the time. 'Cause,
right.
My dad was a pastor basically, so.
And we had the Christian school, so like after school, I'd be in detention. You'd be across the street playing drums.
Yeah, if I wasn't in detention, I'd be across the street playing drums.
Right. So,
right.
or even if we weren't in detention, my dad a lot of times would have to facilitate, or he'd be there for like an extra hour.
Detention, right?
So we had nothing to do.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's probably why we ended up going over and just jamming or whatever.
Time to kill.
Even before we actually could.
When you got time like that, it's good. It's really good. I was thinking about it. I think we just talked about it the other day. It's like when you've got, as a kid, it was really helpful to like hone in on instruments and like, because we had so much time.
Right. And
so that's what really helped. Just utilizing that. It was fun. I mean, the reason we did it was fun.
Right.
And like we got some, like, as we were progressing, we would get opportunities, which made it more fun and whatever. So
I was also thinking about it, like having a couple early outlets was helpful, because like I teach a lot of lessons, and like for those kids that don't really have anything to do with it,
it's hard to stay motivated.
It's like, okay, I'm just gonna practice endlessly in my bedroom for no reason. But like that's no fun. But like we always would have something to, like, okay, we had either a recital or like we were playing this special in church for some reason, or in youth group or whatever. Like we always like, okay, in a month we have this thing that we got to get ready for. Yeah. So that probably helped us.
I guess so. It was for sure. Having a why always helps. Like a goal or something like that. It always just keeps you going.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, that's how I started playing drums, and eventually my parents were like, well, you can't just be a drummer, because I was like, I just want to play
That was their
drums.
whole thing. Like right off the bat. It's like,
well, you can't just play drums.
Even though you were actually good at it.
I was like, well, I just want to be a drummer. you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you can't sing. You can't do it like a solo with you on drums. Come
Which
to find out you can.
Turns out.
Cue up Aaron
I've
Gillespie.
seen it done.
But so they kind of forced me to learn guitar. I didn't want to at all.
It was really because I was going to start piano lessons, and you're like, well, could I get some drum lessons? They're like, no. and then they're like, okay, well, you're going to learn guitar. And you're like, all right.
I mostly didn't want to because it's like anything new. It just takes a little bit of effort, and it's like, and it's uncomfortable, and you're like, oh, this guy. I was like 7 or 8, and I was like, oh, who's the teacher gonna be? Like, it's all new, and I'm like, I don't want to learn. I'm kind of good at drums. I want to just do drums. But anyway,
it's so funny. Yeah, we were pretty young, but you just kind of just went along with it.
Yeah.
And
eventually it became
the early
fun.
days. Dude, the early days, I'm just remembering we split a half an hour. So, like, I got 15 minutes and you got 15 minutes.
Right.
So, it was sort of like a crash course in a way.
But we would actually practice. So, that's why it was still beneficial.
So, we'd come back
in
and
a
we'd
way.
actually know what we did the week before.
For the most part. You were probably better. I remember I kind of waned in my enthusiasm for a while. And I was into, like, sports and other things. But, like, I was just like, I would show up at lessons, but anyway, it was at one point where I like really started getting taught music theory and like how to understand the number system and like how to actually play by ear, really.
Right.
By ear.
Honestly,
that's what clicked in my brain. I was like, oh wait, this is like a matrix, and this is kind of the key. I can see, this much of it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Like so you're basically like learning chords and a couple scales here and there, and then it's just like you're learning a song at a time.
But I'm like, I can only play in G.
Because what we would do is we would bring in the early days we'd bring a song and be like, hey, we want to learn this song. My dad was really like adamant about which is great. He wanted his boys to learn how to play by ear, which is good, but rather than by reading, which is fine. There's two different ways of doing it, and at the end of the day, you do want to learn how to play by ear for sure. And then reading is good if you're going to like maybe make a career in certain avenues, you might need to learn how to read. But so he wanted us to learn how to play by ear. So we would just like bring a song in and our teacher would sit there for like 10, 15 minutes, write down the chords, listen to the song he might not have ever heard before.
Right.
Write down the chords, and then we learn it in the next 15 minutes.
I didn't even think about that.
Which is fine.
He would just, he didn't even
He
know
just
the
literally
song
interpret
sometimes.
it on the spot, which is great. Like that's kind of what we wanted to be able to do.
Yeah.
But we weren't really like learning how to do that ourselves.
No. We were just learning chords, which is where you got to start.
Yeah, you got to start just like learn some songs, and then what's interesting is you actually, even before you actually learn how to like the number system and learn how to play by ear, you would just like you were starting to like pick out songs based on the chords that you knew. You'd be like, oh, these kind of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember like you'd be like, hey, let's see if we can play this song, and you would just start picking it out, which is really cool. I remember, and it would be pretty much the right progression for the most part.
I don't remember, honestly.
But then when we started to learn the number system, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like knowing it now, it's hard to remember exactly where it started to click, but like my guitar teacher like explained it, and it was like, okay, it's getting clearer and clearer. Like, okay, there's just a structure. There's 7 notes in each scale. Each note, there's a chord that it is associated with it, and no matter what key you're in,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It has the same sound.
Like every song can be played. They're the same numbers no matter what key you're in. It's obviously.
Yeah. So exactly. And then I think once we learn that, it's basically the underlying thing under every song. There's the number system.
And I think,
and it's even like underneath, like the scales are important, but even like underneath that is the number system. It's like the song, the scale, and then the number system is like what ties everything together, sort of.
Yeah.
So it's like once we finally like figured that out, it was really important. It was good.
Yeah, it's unlocked the matrix, because then it was like then you start to hear, because you got to memorize your whatever instrument you're learning, like learn the key, each key,
shapes,
the numbers, like what
scales.
coincides with that. Yeah. But then you start to hear it, and like he would kind of be like, hey, listen to this song, pick out like the one chord, that's where it started, and then all right, what's the 5, or like what are these chords? Can you say like what they are? And it took a while, but after a while you're like, oh, okay, that's a 4.
And
that's
it was
a 5.
also great being around. We had a couple, 2 or 3
Awesome
other really great
musicians.
musicians,
Yeah.
like top notch,
Crazy good
around. So like when we were,
and they already knew it.
Yeah, so we were starting to process, and then we'd like play a song, we thought we got it, and then we'd have like 2 chords wrong.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, oh
okay.
no, that's a 2, not a 4.
Right.
Even though they sound very similar, like there's a bass note that's different essentially, and so then you're just like starting to be like, oh, and then once it's like, but then for me it was like once I realized like the difference, because they told me, it sort of like locked this like trigger, like, oh yeah, that. And then it sort of just sticks in a way. I don't know if that was...
for sure. I mean, the listening aspect of like hearing songs, sometimes it was hard because, well, sorry, not hard, but like one thing to focus on is like the bass notes, because that's where your root of the chord is. Because a lot can happen, spicy like guitars and like high pianos that are like playing like, melodies or whatever, that's like sort of not the exact chord, but like if you hear the bass, it's like, okay, that's the root of what the chord is.
That's what everything's built on top of.
Yeah. So the bass notes, like if you have a good bass system, that'll help you out.
And what I tell everyone pretty much, sorry for the headphone issues, folks. No, I'm just.
Oh yeah.
Bass notes. I always tell everyone the bass notes, as we're learning to play by ear, the bass notes is the most important. And then I try to like pick out the melody. And then it's like everything else in between, because the bass note generally gives you what your fundamental chord is,
right? And
then the melody, a lot of times, is actually like the extensions. A lot, like, it's not necessarily, if it's not in the chord, it might be the 7th, or it might be the 9, or it might be the 3rd, or it could be anything. But but it gives you all like the character of what the song is. So.
But yeah, the number system, like learning, this is what the chord sounds like, blah blah blah. And then it was like another level of the number system, because the chording was like stage 1, and then like hearing the chords, and then stage 2 was like, oh, but the melodies, the notes, are all numbers, right? So like just singing a melody, that all the notes are just numbers, right? Not just chords, like, but just the individual notes, they're numbers. So like that. Like I was, because we were in choir,
right.
So I was like,
dude, I remember that. I remember
it clicked one day. I was like, oh wow, like I can hear. Oh, that's a 5 4 3, and then this part's doing a 1 7 5. Like that type of thing. I was like, wow, this is a grid. You can never, if you know this, you can never be off. Like it's not just guessing anymore.
You can never be off.
Well, yeah, it's not guessing anymore.
It's not guesswork. Like, oh, I think I'm a little higher, but what's a little higher? Like,
right.
If you
what's
know
a little higher?
What's the 5? Just sing the 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
You know what's interesting is, it's funny. I remember like specifically kind of what helped me to understand that was actually watching, like, I don't know if you remember this, but the Gaithers, and like Mark Lowry talking about the Gaither like practicing and stuff.
Yeah.
And how
they would do numbers.
they just like they referenced it in a conversation. I'm like, oh my goodness, like you can like think about harmonies and melodies. It's not just like the chord, right? Like you were saying.
You can get as detailed as you want.
Yeah, the whole thing is the number system. And so once you realize that, it really helps to help.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, you can like play anything essentially. If you refine your ear enough. So that's good.
That's good. That's good on that.
Yeah. So cool. Then you learn how to play by ear. So then we started. Tell us a little bit about our camp experience, because like that was another thing. Is like as we were like becoming mid-teenagers, like all of a sudden we were like wanting to play more. And we did our youth services probably like at our church, but then we got some cool opportunities to do youth camps, which was we were very young in hindsight.
Yeah,
looking back.
Yeah, really. I think I was 14 or 15 when I.
Oh, and he could sing really well. Like, we kind of forgot to talk about that, but you just like had a natural ability to sing. So, I think I just like let him sing.
Well, that was the other thing.
Because I don't know if I really wanted to at the time.
You were like, who's gonna sing?
Yeah, so someone had to do it.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I guess the guitar player can be the singer, I guess.
Right.
So I ended up being me. And yeah, we just were going to do like a special song. I remember it was a Stephen Curtis Chapman song, dude.
We practiced for like months.
Oh, man. We
on
practiced
this one song.
And we had a couple dudes, Nate and Luke. And
shout out to our boys.
Yeah. Anyway, we were going to do this song. We asked like the camp director or the music director. I was like, hey, can we... I don't know. We practiced this song. Is it all right if we can do this at some point? Like, it would be fun. And instead of just saying yes,
they're like, let's one up you.
Let me talk to the director, because it would be awesome if you guys just like took a morning session and just did the worship for it. I was like, what do you mean? We just
yeah.
No, it was like, oh wow, dude. I was like, that's kind of daunting.
It was very gutsy.
Dude, it was daunting. Yeah, it was gutsy for them.
On their part.
Because we had no business.
We could have really sucked.
I mean, we did a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
We sucked a little bit.
Yeah, obviously. But obviously it wasn't bad enough for them to not ask us to do it again.
Right. Well, that's the crazy thing is like we did a morning session, 20, 30 minutes in the morning of worship, and
yeah.
We practiced for like months for that. I remember
yeah.
Because we're like, we can't screw this up. Like, this isn't gonna be good. Like, it's so
it was
so daunting.
It was a very
me.
daunting task because like we had never done anything like that.
First of all, can I just say this? So like in that environment, I remember like the morning sessions were always the toughest because the night sessions,
just barely
people
waking
are ready.
Up.
Yeah, people are waking up. They're just like
crawling out of bed,
dude.
8:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
or whatever.
so the morning sessions are definitely a struggle.
Yeah,
they can be. So I was like, like we're already fighting uphill, and we're new, and man, it's so. Anyway, it's what we
survived.
So
I would say,
yeah. I mean, so after we did that, they're like, "Hey, you guys, that was great." Did they ask us to do?
Well, it was just like the next year. I think, right? They were like,
next year
ended up asking us to do either a night service or eventually we got to do the whole thing.
Yeah, I can't remember
which year that was.
It might have just been a night. I can't remember. They might have asked us to do the whole thing. We did it the whole thing, like the whole week, for at least 2 years,
right,
in a row. Like once I was at the last couple of years, which is, I mean, that was pretty amazing, honestly. Like, because they typically had just like he wasn't a camper, like a worship director who would kind of coordinate things.
He'd come in and just
maybe
facilitate.
Get some singers and even not camper. Like, I think this was the first camper led thing that they had.
At least that we had ever
that I'd ever been a part of, but obviously I've only been a teen once. But
but it was pretty cool. And so that kind of helped us, I think, to just get our chops, like as far as part of our 10,000 hours.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we started to Chasing the Light, which is kind of, I guess, growing out of that a little bit.
Basically, because it was like the same musicians, basically some of the same musicians. Like Nate was on drums at that point. You were on keys. I was on guitar. We didn't have a bass player.
Right.
We just had a good electric guitar player. It was real hodgepodge at the beginning, and we didn't really have like any. And then I didn't even have a car. It was tough to even do anything. We called ourselves a band, but we didn't we didn't do much.
Yeah, the name came long before we were actually doing anything.
Right. Yeah.
Of substance.
And then I think 2013 is when it really we recorded our first thing. I guess we'd recorded other things. But the first thing we released onto Spotify and like
probably,
we did all the way.
Yeah.
You were in college, I think, your first or second. I don't know. You came home on summer break.
Dude,
and
we were gonna record a whole album.
You're like, we're gonna record a whole album.
Yeah, in one summer, and we didn't know anything about anything. Like, I barely
you can record
I was
an
just
album.
figuring out how to use GarageBand, and we were gonna record a whole album.
Yeah.
So turns out that didn't quite happen, but we did learn how to do a song. Like, we did get a song done.
Yeah, we got a song
pretty much.
Done. We had some pretty crappy tones that we recorded on most things, and we released it. And dude, the crazy thing was people liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, but you know how that is. Like when you're making things, usually you think it's pretty decent if
Right.
if it's yours.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, like the radio station, we were just like, let's
on a
just send
whim,
it. Let's just email them. Who knows? We probably won't get anything. And they're like, yeah, let's because it was Christmas time. They're like, yeah,
Right.
after our Christmas, we'd love to add it. And we're like, like
that's true. So then they started playing it on the radio, and then it probably got circulated on a few different radio stations in the area.
Yeah, man, that was like a 5-minute track. It was so funny.
Was it long?
So
Was it
many
that
tags. So many.
Wait, really?
Yeah, dude. It was like 5 minutes.
I don't remember it being that long.
Yeah.
I guess it probably was.
Local radio, they were cool with it.
They didn't care.
And I mean, look, man, it's great, man. Just getting on.
Yeah,
getting that
it was just
stuff.
like surreal to hear
Oh,
like
yeah.
a song that you produced in your bedroom, like
Right.
on the radio.
It's like,
you know?
dude, that's crazy.
And then we entered a talent contest. Well, we got in touch with our boy Chris Diltz.
Well, he got in touch with us,
Right.
which is
Right.
cool.
And he helped us to like broaden our horizons a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he recommended getting in a talent contest.
Yeah, it's great move for like a
Right.
talent contest.
They are
local
helpful.
talent contests or like regional stuff. It's great for new people, like new bands.
Just get your name out there.
Yeah, because like
people don't know who
usually-
you are.
Usually there's perks for the winner. Like you'll get some gigs or money or whatever, it is. You'll at least get
A gift
some
card.
pretty good exposure. So
Yeah.
we did that. It was up in Canada. We played, I remember it was like the craziest thing. We played for like
Yeah.
3,000 people and we're like just
like a few
feeling
months later.
awesome,
Yeah, so that was cool, and that really did get us some exposure because all of a sudden, like a lot of people in our region, in our state, and then Canada's like the next state over for us up in
Dude,
Maine.
perception is reality. It's
Yeah.
so funny how like when we did that
All of
and
a
got
sudden-
photos of it and stuff, people thought we were like
Huge.
a huge band, which is so hilarious, dude. Like, because I remember, and we've talked about this before, but like, the week after that, we went and played like our worst show
Yes.
ever. It was like 3 people
Literally-
there.
I don't know if we should say the name, but
No,
it basically closed down like a month later or something. Like we were like one of the
Put 'em out
last.
of business.
We were like one of the last shows.
Yeah.
And it was like the openers and us, and then we put them out of business apparently. But yeah, it's just like you can't let your good moments get you too high and your low moments get you too low. So that was kind of like a learning experience.
Yep.
But that did help us to gain some traction. And then you want to talk a little bit about the second EP that we did, maybe we
Sure.
recorded an EP later, and then we did a second one in a more professional environment.
Yeah, the second one it felt like it took a long time to make. I don't know.
Well, we did it in 5 days. So let's just talk about the actual.
Yeah. The actual.
studio
It was a
time.
long time coming. There's some old songs and stuff, but we did 5 songs, 5 days in a studio here in Southern Maine, and it was really fun. I think we camped out there, right? Like we
Yeah.
stayed there.
Well, ended up being a snowstorm, and
Oh,
so we didn't
right.
want to go back home.
Yeah. It was
because
cool.
we might not have been able to get back.
It was really fun. Like for us, like a new band, it's being in a studio. There's like an actual engineer. He was really good at what he did.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was really cool.
No, talk about like the did it help you to see how like a real studio runs things as opposed to like doing home records? When you're at home, you kind of have endless time. At least that's the way it feels. Because
sure.
you could just like
yeah, you can noodle and try to
and
figure
take
stuff
your
out.
time.
Yeah, when you're well, the thing is you're paying for time,
Right.
when you're at a studio, so it's like have your part. Don't be wasting your precious money,
Yeah.
that you're spending for 5 days at a studio. It's like okay, have your parts pretty much dialed to where you want them, and then okay, you could, there's always going to be like sauce you're figuring out. Like okay,
There's
does it
room for
sound good
creativity,
here?
but you
Yeah.
need to have a lot of your parts locked in ahead of time.
Should be like, it should be like 85%,
Right.
90% locked in. Yeah. Like you should have it down, like what you're going to do. Yeah. Just so you're not wasting money.
And
It's-
that was helpful to
So
see.
we demoed them all out pretty
Right.
much entirely
Yeah.
before that, so that was helpful.
Yeah, and it was because we had a
Dude,
structure.
and here's the other thing that I didn't know. When we got to the end of the session, like the producer was like, "Yeah, I mean, you guys are gonna be like killing these songs live because you like actually recorded them."
Right.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't," because I didn't know. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, most people, like a lot of people, don't record their, I mean, some people.
There's a good amount.
There's a good amount of people who don't even record their own stuff. They like just have studio musicians do it. They're like, hey, here's our demos and the idea
They'll have
for
it produced by like professional musicians.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
we just assumed like bands had to record their own parts.
I didn't
which
even think
it
about
just kind
that.
of made sense in our head.
Which it's definitely cheaper that way.
And it's probably
you know?
better in the long
Yeah,
run, like
definitely.
if you can do it yourself.
But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so that was good. And then I mean so Chasing Lights had some times like after that I went back to college.
Bro, let's talk
Anyway.
about this real quick. This perception thing is so funny because like we played I think it was after that a year after the festival. So
Yeah.
people already thought we were like pretty like doing big things. We were coming up in the world, whatever, like and we played Soul Fest.
Yeah.
That was like our first time we played Soul Fest and we're like we're crushing it. And then the next day we'd entered a talent contest for like Youth Congress, like
NAYC.
you know, yeah,
in Oklahoma City. This
Oklahoma
particular
City.
one. It's in a different city every 2 years.
yeah. So we entered the talent contest and we ended up in the top 6 or whatever, whoever
Right.
gets to perform. And I guess, dude, you probably know more than me, but like I guess somebody was like pulling for us because
what's interesting is like we sent. We basically just gave him our track that we recorded in the studio, and it was supposed to be like a live performance, and we were like, oh, they probably won't be able to tell that we were just lip syncing, and they could tell. So we basically had to
Obviously.
like, but they could have just like not accepted our submission, but they kept like reaching back out like, hey, we need this to be more live, and so we ended up giving them like. It was like the third take by the time we actually decided, okay.
I remember 3 submissions.
Right.
I remember
and then
3 submissions.
We finally like, okay, we got to play this live. So it was just because we didn't, I think, feel like we were going to get a good result. But we're decent musicians, so we ended up getting a good result, even playing it live. And I think it was also like the engineering part of it that we were like wondering if it was going to work. And we finally did it live, and then they finally accepted us.
So funny,
But-
dude. I guess there was like banter back and forth. Like I think the youth secretary or something at that point was like, are these guys like this? Well, they because they were like, this is like a amateur contest, aren't they? Like professionals?
Yeah,
that's where like
right.
the perception's like, dude, no,
Right.
like.
Um,
And we had somebody vouch for us, and
Right.
it was okay. But it's so funny, dude. Like, what the heck?
And then we did get to play there, and that was cool because it was just a lot of people. There's probably 20,000 people at that conference, and there might have been like 15,000 when we played.
Yeah,
because like people were
it
still
was before
filtering in.
Yeah, people were filtering in. Dude, we really, really shot ourselves in the foot. I still say to this day, because they were going to. I think we were going to sound check first, which means we would have gone last. You know?
Yeah.
Because they always go last to, they sound check whoever's going last first.
Right.
And then
Reverse
whoever goes
order.
last whoever sound checks last goes first.
Right.
So we weren't ready to sound check. Remember that?
I don't remember this actually.
Dude, I don't know what it was. If it was like tracks, I didn't
Really?
know what it was.
I don't remember
like,
this at all.
we need a few more minutes. So they're all right. Well, we'll come back to you. And
Cut it out.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't remember this.
So I'm pretty sure the order got shaken.
It's probably my fault because I was probably the one running the tracks. I was probably giving
I
them
don't
a
know
hard
if
time.
we went through with the tracks anyway,
Shoot.
but
yeah,
dude,
I think
was
we.
like,
because
that's what happens.
They didn't want us to play with the track.
Oh,
I think. I'm pretty sure they just wanted us to play live, and so, but we were trying to maybe fight with them. I don't know.
can't remember.
It's probably our own fault. Oh well.
Either way, it was just funny, like, because with that was like a voting structure, so
Right.
whoever
They
goes
just
last gets the most votes, obviously.
Because and there's more people there. I guess that just happened.
That's all. Yeah.
Every night. It was a fan vote, so there's more people there at the end, and
That's
which
all
is
you
fine.
remember is the last one if they're good. If they're good. So, but
But
anyway,
that was fun.
That was fun.
It was a good
That
time.
was cool.
It was just like all these opportunities kind of build up a some good experience for just the future. So and now tell us a little bit what you're doing now, maybe with the band, because it had a phase where we didn't do much, but then you did release some stuff last year. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So back during the COVID crisis, in 2020, we were like, we should, because like I think we had like a couple songs we were like kind of brewing on, and we're like, let's boot it back up, even if it's just Nate and I. Let's just record these songs, and it would be fun, even if like we're not like, I mean, I like playing shows and stuff, but like I just like, it would be sick to record some more music and put it out. That's right. It's just fun. Yeah. To like,
and I guess you had the music. Time maybe in the downtime in a way.
Yep. Well, I don't know, everyone's lives were a little weird because like I was still working full time and whatever. But anyway, we recorded Now I'm Living, and we released it January of 2021, and another one called The Moment, and I think a few months later, April maybe, and Now I'm Living, man. It's done really well. I think it's like, it was the other day, it was like over like 420,000 streams. Holy cow. Which is, it's crazy. Awesome. I didn't think it would.
That's amazing, actually, because that's way more than we ever got on previous tracks, which is a cool thing about like just staying consistent with doing something year after year, is eventually it snowballs a little bit, and even though we took some breaks in here, but you kind of kept going. And you didn't give up on it.
You just get better at recording too. I think they're like, the recordings are probably getting better too, and maybe the songs too. Well, it's shifted a little bit. Chasing the Light overall as a
brand.
The
you
vision,
had to rebrand it.
The brand and the vision. Like, I really want to be able to like. I want people to be able to sing the songs in church and worship.
Yeah.
But also be like cool and polished, Right.
And not
like
just
the sonically, I think that would be cool. But I just love worship music, so that's what I kind of want to be focused on, even as a band. Yeah. So that's the different shift.
Whereas back in the early days, we were just recording whatever we thought sounded cool.
Yeah.
Which is
cool.
It was a good way to start.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. And so that's great. And you had a music video with that one too. So that was cool.
That was really fun.
Now, what about your new stuff? Do you have anything new in the works?
Yes.
Possibly.
Yep.
Or you want to save that to the end?
I mean, it's fine. I think we're working on an album. Yeah. Is what we're doing right now, and we'll probably release a couple more singles, at least one more. And then I really want, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I really want to put the album out like in the fall. That would be sweet if we could do that.
This year or next year, 2025.
Yeah.
No, that would be great, man.
That'd be sweet.
And I've seen a little bit of previews and heard a little previews of some stuff, and it's going to be pretty lit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and put that out there and out. It's going to be fire.
It's going to be fire.
Yeah, so that's great. Chasing the Light's still rocking and rolling. So I wanted to shift a little bit and talk a little bit about you also serve in your local church, and you play music. You play drums and guitar and bass and stuff, right?
Yep.
Do you sing a little bit?
Yeah, mostly I play drums and bass.
Yeah.
A lot. That's
your main
2/3 of the time.
Yeah.
And then they just have so many leaders,
right?
That the drummers aren't as abounding. So it's fun though. I love playing drums, and it's a different way of like worshiping
yourself.
Yeah. It's like you're facilitating a lot.
It's amazing how much space the drums take up, and I think that's part of it. Because like if there's no drums there, you really notice it, or if it's a bad drummer, you really notice it.
Right.
So there's a lot of responsibility in that area.
Yep. But it's it's really fun. It was honestly like, it was a lot of pressure at first when I first started playing there. I remember, especially in like spontaneous moments, I was like, oh no, what do I even do? What am I supposed to do? Right. Like how? Right. Okay, like trying to figure out that, and But like now it's really fun. It's
because you can kind of
you're
lead from
facilitating.
the drums.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You're one of the leaders, and if you do certain things, other people react.
Yep.
You know, if you just sit there and are frozen, then people react in
a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. How about you talk about that a little bit, like to some of those maybe young drummers out there that don't realize like how much responsibility is in that role. You know, like drummers who are playing in church who may have just started or something.
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance that? Like, just play the song, or if there's dead time, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, if they're still playing a little bit, like, yeah.
Well, I think it's crucial to like. I know it's not the like best. It is the best answer that I can come up with, but it's not like everyone will want to like. Oh, that's great. It's like I think it's really important to. And it's just time learning your leaders, like who's leading, you know, like what they're kind of to tell like where they want to go, you know, with the like learning their nonverbal cues and just like, okay. And sometimes it's just like, hey, if they're not really giving anything, I mean, you're in, you know,
you're in the driver's seat as well.
Yeah. So like, you know, I would say, be in tune with the Spirit, be in tune with your worship leader you're trying to facilitate where they're trying to like lead. But if not, I mean, you're a leader as well, and just flow. I don't know.
Right.
That's kind of a lame answer at that last one. But I mean,
it's not though, because like I've been in situations where even though I'm in a talkback mic and I'm on the keyboard, there's at times like I want to go certain places, and because I'm not a drummer, I'm not like giving every single cue, but I'm like, man, I really wish we could have kept the energy up a little bit better, you know, in this one spot. And then sometimes like when you come out to play, or, you know, just different scenarios, whenever I'm playing with certain drummers that just get it, you know, you don't have to like tell them every specific thing, but it's just like a feeling that, you know, you can facilitate, which is, I know that's very abstract, but those of you who have been in church environments that do have some flow, or those that don't have any flow, you kind of know maybe what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So what are some other tips just in general for like young drummers who are just starting out playing in church? I kind of wanted to maybe give them some tips, some pointers.
If you're really new, I think there's a tendency sometimes when you're learning drums to overplay. So don't overplay. Like not every quiet spot needs a fill, you know? Like everything in between a kick and a snare doesn't need a fill.
Right.
I think the beat can be really powerful as is. Like the songs are popular for a reason, you know? They're saying something that people, you know, and they're recorded in a way like the parts are good, obviously. So try to like learn that if at all possible. And then once you've got that down, you know, I mean, there's moments like that in a church service where it's like, okay, I kind of want more energy here. I want to go into this.
Right.
So it's like knowing how to read your leaders. And you'll be able to make up your own stuff tastefully.
Right.
That's really abstract, I feel like, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That die. Yeah, I mean, so basically, learn the song as good as you can, and then there's liberty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's true. And I think there's
room
for variation in the live environment.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't want to just go overboard.
Right.
And it's not
about you.
It's not a chop show.
Yeah.
To see like all the cool stuff you can do.
Like I will say, man, when some of the like best worship services I've been in, or like most powerful, or just like I'm just like, man, that guy's good. It's not when they're just like chopping everything up. It's just like when they're like solid as all get out. But then they do a chop every once in a while, and it's like, oh, I mean, yeah, you can tell that they're good, but they're so good that they play the part.
Right.
But they're just like a real beefy.
Right.
I don't know. I like rock drums, so it's like, you know.
and when they're locked in with the other musicians,
Yeah.
like, it's just like this. Like, it's a cohesive unit. It's not. You're not just hearing like 3 or 4 different things doing their own thing. It's like it's this whole big picture.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Okay, let's get into the technical stuff. So, what's your favorite drum kit to play on, like sonically?
I think that's a good question. I'm just gonna say what I have, which is it's a Ludwig Club Date LE.
Nice.
It sounds great. I like Ludwig drums. I like.
So
Here's
LE,
the thing.
what does that stand for?
Dude, here's the thing. I don't know. Here's the thing.
Abe's a real technical kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm not. I wish I was more of a gear nerd here in this type of scenario.
It's totally
'Cause
fine
I'm
though.
like,
Well, that just shows like this. What
I don't know.
You might not know is he's just got like natural talent out the wazoo, and so sometimes, sometimes that can hold you over on the gear part of it. But the gear is helpful though.
Yeah. I think
gear is
I
helpful.
think there's a lot of drum sets that'll.
A lot of people only focus on the gear and don't focus on actually the skill that takes to play well. And other people only focus on skill and not at all on the gear. And there's definitely a happy medium, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I've seen both sides, but like, I think there's for like any brand of anything, there's a line of drum kit that'll do a similar thing as another brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, Ludwig's great. The ones that I play at church is a Truth drum kit. You know, Gretsch is obviously great. But it depends on the series. They have like
Right.
cheaper models, and I'm not really in the weeds on any of that, so it's tough.
What are your favorite crash cymbals?
Oh, cymbals? Yeah, I can go a little bit deeper here. So I love Zildjian. I love Istanbul. I mean, Paistes great too. I played a lot of Paistes because Nate had them, and I bought some. I think Zildjian, if I had to go
with one brand,
it would either be Zildjian or Istanbul.
Yeah.
Zildjian K-Lite Ride 24. I would have that.
What do you have? A 26?
Well, that's a heartbeat.
He has the biggest ride I've ever seen in my life in his trunk right now.
I bought it used. It was a pretty good deal. It was a 26-inch. Like
he's picking me up from the airport, and I go to get in with my suitcase, and there's just, I mean, it's like
taking up half the trunk.
It's the biggest ride, but it's pretty. I bet it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds
huge.
Yeah. It sounds good. It's big and washy.
Yeah.
But I think, a K-Lite ride would be sick. 24-inch. It's got a good enough chunk that it's not too washy, but it definitely has wash. It's dark. It's hammered. It's hammered. And then, if I had to go with a crash, I would do a Zildjian K Constantinople 22-inch Renaissance ride.
You said crash.
It's a ride, but it's a. I mean,
crash.
people use it as like
Really?
I think Ronnie Vannucci from the Killers
20
uses
inch?
it. 22.
22-inch crash.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
huge.
it's a ride, you know. But
you just
if
like
you already
that
have a
washy,
ride,
big sound.
Yeah. It's a nice crash to it.
Hi-hats.
Probably like 16s are so much more versatile. 16 like K light hi-hats.
So big crashes, big hi-hats.
Yeah, 16s are pretty versatile. I was gonna say like 17s, but if you want to play different styles, 16s
It's hard
probably
to hard to transition.
Yeah,
from
16s are good
sloshy-
medium. They're good and sloshy, but they're still pretty tight if you
Right.
need it.
How about sticks?
Oh, I mean, again, it's the same. Like, there's different brands. So Vic Firth is great, but I love ProMark. The ProMark like rebound balance 5A is the one
5A.
that if
Those
I
are
could
fairly
use.
light weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're I don't know. They're like perfect weight to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love
Yeah.
the ProMark sticks.
Who's your favorite drummer? Like when you watching growing up,
Oh, growing up
or just whatever. Like, yeah, growing up versus maybe now.
For a
How about
while,
that?
it was Aaron Gillespie.
Yeah.
He was great. And then for a while, it kind of shifted. I go through phases of like, oh, this drummer's crazy. I'd watch him for a while. Elon Rubin was killer.
At first, I thought you were gonna say Elon Musk. I was like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Elon Musk. Elon Rubin is, I mean, he's so talented all around, but he drummed on a Paramore
Dude,
album.
he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's,
yeah.
Yeah. He's so good.
And I think probably like if more mainstream or Christian drummers, I would say Will Chapman.
Who does he play for?
Colony House.
Oh, dude, yeah.
He's hit so hard.
I saw them one time
Dude.
in St. Louis, and it was amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone hit that hard
Right.
live.
But so clean.
Yeah.
Everything is so precise and clean.
It is so
It's
good.
like, dude, he crushes it. He uses Istanbul's cymbals.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He's great.
I think maybe that. I mean, the only other person I would want to recommend is he plays for, I think, Hillsong United now.
Kingdom Life.
Yeah. My boy Johnny.
Right. Sorry.
No, Dan McMurray. He plays with Hillsong. He used to play with Hillsong Worship. Now United, I think,
okay. Yeah.
on this tour.
Yeah, that was a big influence for you anyway. Like, you've always loved United
Oh
in
yeah.
general, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, that's legit. Okay, so what are some projects you have in the works? Well, you tell us a little bit about it, but what are some things coming up that you're excited about musically in general? You can plug. This is your time to plug anything.
I mean, be on the lookout, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
You better be watching those socials. You better be watching that algorithm, because it's about to be
It's coming at ya.
annihilated. That algorithm is going to be activated. No. Anyway, Chasing the Light. I'm pumped for the new album. Pumped for the new stuff. We really want to. There's more stuff in the works that aren't really concrete that I don't want to. I don't want to
Give
say
too much
before.
away.
I don't want to crush the dream before it's a reality.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot more that we want to do with Chasing the Light and just music and worship in general. So
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's good.
stoked about it.
That's good.
But yeah, the album for now, we've got some like live stuff we recorded too. That was really pretty sick.
I've seen some, once again, I've seen some previews, and I think you're gonna want to stay in touch. So real quick, let's give them all your socials and where they can find you and your stuff before we go. That way you can stay plugged in and stay on the path.
So yeah, I mean, my socials are Facebook, it's Abraham Stevens. Instagram is the Abraham Stevens.
Having a name like Abraham doesn't make him hard to find.
Right. You'll find me. And YouTube. I mean, obviously Instagram, it's official CTL.
Right.
That's the handle.
Chasing the Light.
Yeah, Chasing
on
the Light.
Spotify.
Is official Spotify is Chasing the Light.
And wherever you stream music.
Super simple.
Oh,
You'll
and you have a
find us.
podcast.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
If you want to plug it.
Yeah, I mean, it's me and my buddy Michael. It's called Sorry for Yelling.
He likes a bit of comedy in his life.
I think we've got, I don't know, 6 episodes out or
Nice.
something like that.
Yeah.
They're about an hour. So if you are doing dishes,
If you don't
or
have
something,
anything else to do.
yeah, if you're
If you're running out of content.
it's on YouTube only. It's exclusively YouTube right now. So
you got to get on those podcast platforms pretty soon.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out if I want to turn this into a podcast, because right now I'm doing some podcast interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned. We might throw it onto an audio only platform eventually, but for now we'll have these right here on YouTube. So I'm hoping you're enjoying this series. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, maybe you want to click on this video or subscribe right there. You know you want to do it. All right. Thanks, Abe, for hanging out today.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya. Dude, you didn't ask me any of your questions. Wait, what was your question? Where were you? Did you actually? Oh, what was the first one? I only read the first one. You didn't ask that one.
I forgot. Sorry. I kind of just went off script.